No questions asked. They didn't even see a gun. And this is what they do to our heroes and suffer no consequences for it. Man, something gotta happen, bruh. And welcome back, young scholars. Today I have a very interesting video for you today. Being a Black Gun Owner by Pillboi. Now, I find the topics of race and expressing your rights to be very interesting. So I only found it right that I share my thoughts and opinions of such topics with you all. Now let's get right into this video.
God bless America. No, I mean it. God bless her. Nowhere else in the world is quite like it. From the Great Lakes and plains to the completely unwalkable city infrastructure, from the Rocky Mountains to the slow, vampiric gentrification of inner cities, there's truly no other place like her. After all, we've got the American dream, where every citizen of the United States has an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative. It's like a game of Monopoly, you know? You work hard, you grind your way all the way up to the top. That's unless if you're black, then every spot on the board turns into a fucking go to jail card. Being black is truly an interesting experience. It's even more interesting when you try to exercise your basic rights. It truly is like playing that rigged game of Monopoly with that one nigga who keeps trying to redo his turn because the dice fell on the floor.
Yeah, and that one nigga, that's the government, by the way.
You know, really loves to move the goalpost back, but nothing screams hypocrisy quite like the Second Amendment, or better yet, what happens when black people try to exercise their Second Amendment.
Zephyr Man, legally packing heat, speaks out about the day he was tackled. His body just slammed and put into a chokehold while entering a Walmart.
I'm thinking that it was a racist situation.
Clarence Daniels says he never knew what hit him.
Who is this person? Why is he doing this? This is uncalled for.
Foster told detectives he spotted Daniels getting out of his car with a handgun in the parking lot of this Brandon Walmart. But there was one problem.
I said, listen, I have a concealed weapon. I have a license.
Yeah, nah. You ain't finna catch me like that. You unknown assailant tackle me from behind trying to put me in a chokehold? There ain't no explaining nothing, buddy. I had your ass flipping Krabby Patties at the Krusty Krab. You're done. But that's just me, you know. I mean, shit. That's crazy. But we all know who he wouldn't have done it to.
He put his hand over my mouth.
Yeah, it's like that. Clarence Daniels is just one of the countless black men that get targeted, assaulted, or in some cases straight up murdered for legally practicing their Second Amendment. I mean, gun permits ain't cheap. Why the hell would I pay all those fees and do all that paperwork just for the cops to turn me into Swiss cheese when they do it for free? But this is America, right? I mean, surely there must be some national gun group with massive influence and willing to stick up for the rights of black Americans, right?
Hell no. Ain't no government agency gonna do that shit. So, no. The NRAs do that. Yeah, nah. We already know the answer to this.
Yeah, the National Rifle Association has been pretty silent for a few years now. Organizations such as the NRA, who love to pride themselves on protecting the rights of gun owners, always happen to be particularly silent when the rights of black gun owners are infringed upon. From Clarence Daniels all the way up to Philando Castile, it's like the NRA catches cold feet whenever a black gun owner gets his Second Amendment rights violated. Now, I know what a certain some of you are thinking. Now, these are isolated incidents, and the NRA does not neglect black gun owners. We're all American, and the NRA will always fight for Americans to have guns.
Oh yeah, we already knew this. The NRA supported gun control when the Black Panthers had weapons. Of course, the NRA's gun control was racist. We all know this, okay? These government entities, they don't care about the little man, period. So anything they could do to get people to go against one another, they're going to do it. And that does come in the form of racism. It's a very real thing. We know it. But there's some deniers out there. Let's keep going.
Yeah, that's right. In addition to not only straight up ignoring these incidents whenever they occur, the NRA has historically supported laws that restrict accessibility for black gun owners. Kinda proving what black folks have known for years now. Jasper and Cletus down at the NRA chapter ain't exactly our friends. When it comes to defending the rights of black gun owners, the NRA is just as bad as those who infringe upon them. But this is a huge issue. A 156-year issue that's not going to be completely tackled by a singular video. With that being said, I'm going to try my best to dissect this as much as I can, from the racist history of organizations such as the NRA, all the way down to how they operate in the present, and black American responses to it. So let's dig in, because let's be honest, what the hell is the point of giving me a right if you're just going to shoot me when I try to exercise?
Rights can't be given, by the way. It's your right to do it. So you have it initially. It's yours. So use it.
I want to start off by saying this video is not pro-gun control, nor is it anti-gun control. Instead of it being a critique of the Second Amendment itself, this video is focusing on the hypocrisy of those in power and how they allow black Americans to exercise their Second Amendment. In addition, this is pretty different compared to my other opinions I've released. One, that this has probably got the most in-depth research based off of research I've done in both the past and present, but this is also a lot more strongly opinionated. While I've dedicated this channel to this sort of material, some topics, especially ones concerning my identity and blackness, I'm gonna get a lot more passionate about. Maybe a little too passionate at times. But I don't want that to take away from any arguments being made. In fact, I'm gonna use that passion to dig a little deeper and try to find out why it is that the NRA and the government is so terrified of niggas with guns. So,
because they don't want us to rise up. That's it. That's the only reason, really. And that's the number one reason, because once you get a hold of guns, you got power now. While it may not be overwhelming, it puts ideas in your head. It makes you see that you can exercise your rights whenever you see fit, just as much as the next man. So what happens when you start exercising those rights? You get a little deeper into what you can do and what rights that you can exercise to pull yourself up and elevate yourself to a higher status. They don't like that. Especially if y'all come together. Oh no, they gotta put a stop to that. We've seen it all throughout history. Go look at the 7 levels of racism. I explained a little more in there.
Let's dig in. In true American fashion, we're gonna be a straight shooter with the facts. Like all problems that black Americans face, this problem begins at slavery. It's kind of like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, only replace Kevin Bacon with slavery. The same founding fathers that adopted the glorious Second Amendment also enacted racially discriminatory gun laws. And they had a pretty good reason for it. They were fucking scared. As a nation, whenever you have a
And they still are.
group of slaves or second-class citizens, the last thing you want to do is give them guns, or any means of staging armed revolution for that matter. American lawmakers knew that the only way to prevent slaves from pulling a Nat Turner freestyle was to ban guns from black people in general. That included any free blacks in the nation as well. But this is where we start to move the goalpost. Even if you have this newly freed population, you can't just give them guns. You're gonna need to make sure they're always in some capacity at a disadvantage. Even when the 14th Amendment was later ratified, entitling African Americans to their civil liberties, this didn't stop states from enacting black codes, which would limit how freely black Americans could acquire weapons. Of course, passing these restrictions still required a lot of lobbying and political power, and one of the main groups to do this was none other than the good old-fashioned NRA. Contrary to the pseudo-historical claim, the NRA was not.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but these movements are killing me. This little animated character he got going on it's throwing me a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. Let me stay focused.
Not founded to help newly freed black people defend themselves from the treacherous Democrats' Ku Klux Klan. The organization wasn't founded until 6 years after slavery was abolished. Founded in 1871, the organization was established by 2 Union veterans, Colonel William C. Church, and General George Wingate. The original purpose of the organization was to promote and encourage rifle shooting on a scientific basis, based on how the two noticed many Union civilians were severely untrained with firearms. And by the early 20th century, the group had already established significant political power. While the founding of this organization doesn't have any explicit racist intent or alignment, this didn't stop them from lobbying their support for racist causes. Now, the NRA loves to say that those who claim they're racist don't know their history, so that's okay. We'll do a history lesson. As I stated before, while the founding may not have been explicitly racist, this didn't stop them from lobbying support for racist causes. In less than 50 years after its founding, the NRA already had established significant lobbying power. And the first major lobbying effort the organization found themselves in was the Pennsylvania Uniform Firearms Act of 1926. Under this law, no person could carry a concealed firearm in public without a permit from the local police. Considering the highly racist police forces of these jurisdictions, it was almost impossible for black residents to obtain permits from local police. Another provision under this law stated that permits would only be granted to suitable persons with a proper reason for carrying a firearm. There was no legal definition for what made a person suitable, thus giving the state and police a legal loophole to restrict gun access for black residents.
And they do that all the time. We can even see that now in how people vote. Opening voting offices on certain days when they know the majority of their black voters are going to be at church. Going into certain districts and saying, nah, you don't have the right documentation. You need to go get this one instead. When they know these are underfunded communities, poor folk who can't afford no ID. That's the American way. Always has been.
Now you're probably thinking, where the hell was the NRA when the American citizens were having their rights infringed upon? Oh, that's right, they supported it. Instead of defending black people from the KKK, they did the opposite and enabled them. The Klan during Reconstruction was not some shadowy Hydra-like organization. Hell, at the height of the 1920s, it had over
And why would they be? Some of the most racist times ever. They ain't gonna support black people. Hell no. And everybody around them gonna support them. Because they don't support black people either. But we still thrived.
2 million members. The Klan was a membership. It was comprised of lawmakers, police, state, and federal employees. The same people the Klan would typically attract were being helped by the NRA to pass these racist gun laws. So no, despite them loving to pride themselves as champions of the Second Amendment, the NRA has never truly supported black people. But I know what some of you are saying, that's so long ago, get over it. And that's okay, we'll look at something a little more recent. Let's travel to the magical and mysterious land known as California.
California? Shit, you hard pressed to get a gun there anytime nowadays. I can only imagine for black people, they ain't giving you shit. Not a thing.
That's right, my friends. The late 60s and early 70s saw the rise in left-wing radical black politics that were shaping the nation. This in turn saw the rise of far more militant movements, ones that weren't afraid and more willing to take direct action in order to secure civil liberties. One such group was the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was a Marxist-Leninist political organization founded in Oakland in 1966 by college students Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton. The organization heavily focused on class struggle for black Americans, with emphasis on self-determination and self-defense. The organization was famous for its numerous social programs, such as its free breakfast for children, transportation services, education programs, and community health clinics.
And the government hated all of this shit. They couldn't stand seeing this happen. They couldn't. So what did they do? They went in and terrorized, as they always did.
But all the California lawmakers saw was niggas with guns. More specifically, organized niggas with guns that weren't afraid to take direct action against the state. The state of California, along with the NRA and the FBI, were getting pretty worried. Under COINTELPRO, the FBI was already targeting and neutralizing any people and groups that were deemed subversive to American political stability. But there's one problem.
Meaning, if you were against the white supremacist regime, that was your ass. That's basically what the COINTEL program was.
COINTELPRO was illegal as fuck. They still needed a legal option that allowed them to restrict firearm access to the black population. Since you couldn't legally discriminate based off race anymore, they chose the next best thing: blast. The NRA soon backed the Mulford Act, as well as the Gun Control Act of 1968, to get rid of California's open carry law by appealing to the governor at the time and spawn of the devil himself, Ronald Reagan. The bill would ban the usage of Saturday night specials, or small and inexpensive handguns, typically found in lower income neighborhoods that just so happen to make up most of the Black Panther Party's demographics. The plan was simple.
We saw the same tactic with the crack epidemic in the 80s. It's the same shit. Same shit. They just recycling old ways of disruption. That's just how it is.
Get rid of gun rights in black neighborhoods in order to combat quote-unquote drugs and crime, and then start to reinstate them later on for white gun owners in order to protect them from said drugs and crime. Ronald Reagan did all that to take away guns from black people just to get shot by a white guy. In other words,
damn. I ain't gonna say that. I was gonna say something harsh, but they might not allow me to say that on this platform. But y'all know what I was gonna say about good old Ronald Reagan. Y'all know what I was gonna say. Yeah. Rest in piss, nigga.
the organizations that were designed to uphold these freedoms never intended for black Americans to have them to begin with. But here we are in the 21st century. There's no way in the modern age these things can still be happening, right? I mean, surely the NRA and other institutions like them are much more willing to stand up for black American gun owners, right?
No.
I think it's safe to jump the gun here and say that the US government and NRA doesn't really like it when black people have guns, which isn't really anything too shocking. However, what is shocking to far too many people is just how easily this dislike and prejudice has maintained legality. A theme we've consistently revisited so far is this idea of moving the goalpost, and how, even with constitutional rights, states and local jurisdictions can easily bypass and restrict them from black Americans. But what happens when the goalpost is outright ignored? What happens when the police get involved? Even without guns and weapons, black Americans have always been viewed as threats. Hell, I could walk into a Walmart right now wearing a life vest and a thong and still get my bag searched by security like I'm at the fucking airport. But when guns get added to the equation, it just turns everything up to 100. I don't feel I'd have to explain over a century's worth of police brutality to you watching this, but black people plus guns never equals a good outcome with the police. And that's because of the racism that this nation was founded on is still embedded in the American police force. It doesn't matter which part of the nation you live in or what neighborhood or city. The racist history of the American police force is still reflected in its police today, in the way it trains officers, carries out procedures, and conducts its own investigation. It was systematically designed in order to enforce the racist framework that the United States was founded upon. From Georgia police departments using photos of black men as target practice, all the way up.
And look at this. And it's shit like this that they'll get caught for, and there will be no consequences. None. The best you can hope for is someone get fired. And you know what firing means for a police officer? Just relocate it to another station. That's it. We're just going to send you, I don't know, to Michigan or some shit. This is ridiculous. But hey, this is the police force. This is them.
From Georgia police departments using photos of black men as target practice, all the way up to the entire Minneapolis Police Department. These ideas are entrenched within law enforcement, and there's not much that can be done, or nothing at all that could be done, to reform these organizations. There are far too many.
Oh, it's something that can be done, but that requires a collective mind, unity of the black community. We know what we got to do, but when it's gonna happen, who knows?
Many stories of unarmed black men being gunned down just because officers thought they had a gun. The police, 100 times out of 10, are not gonna ask us if the gun is legal before shooting us dead. While we're at it, let's talk about that funny phrase you might have heard. You might have heard the phrase, the only answer to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. It's not bad, you know, it rolls off the tongue. There's only one problem. This doesn't apply if you're black. Amantic Bradford Jr., an Army veteran who used his legally owned gun to defend mall patrons from an active shooter. His reward?
Emotional plea for answers after an Alabama police department admits the man they killed during a mall shooting on Thanksgiving night, quoting now, likely was not the gunman. His family broke down as they described their son and brother, E.J. Bradford Jr.
And let me guess, no corrective action was taken against them. I bet they got no jail time. Not even probation. I bet they didn't even go to court and get penalized. Just, this is a system.
As a loving man who cared for his sick father and thought of others before himself, we are left with more questions than answers at this point during the investigation, with police releasing few details from the incident so far.
Or Jamel Robertson, a security guard who was restraining an active shooter who then proceeded to get shot to death on site by officers when they responded to the scene.
No questions asked. They didn't even see a gun. And this is what they do to our heroes. And suffer no consequences for it. Man, something gotta happen, bruh.
Amir Locke to the countless other Black Americans who have been shot legally carrying their weapons, there's no such thing as a good guy with a gun when you're Black. In fact, the very fact that you are Black with a gun makes you a bad guy in the eyes of law enforcement. But who do we run to? I mean, surely there must be some sort of gun rights group that's willing to stick up for our civil liberties, right? Oh wait, we did that bit already. The issue with these rights being enforced stems from more than just law enforcement being inherently racist. It also comes from other gun owners as well. Back in 2002, the American Psychological Association did a study focusing on anti-Black sentiments found within gun rights groups, specifically predominantly white gun rights groups. The APA revealed that many of these predominantly white groups have a tendency to ostracize Black gun owners both within and outside of their organizations. Now, I know what some of you may be thinking, how the hell is this any different than hockey? In the study, participants were asked to correlate phrases regarding gun culture with racial demographics. The study's findings showed that white Americans on average within these groups that held high levels of anti-Blackness associated phrases such as gun rights, self-defense, and National Rifle Association with white people. And conversely, phrases such as gun control, waiting period, and weapons ban with Black people. This wasn't limited to just party affiliation either, with both white Democrat and Republicans sharing similar sentiments. But why is that?
That's no
surprise.
Well,
the answer is quite simple. In fact,
and that's one of the reasons I don't put no stake into this political shit in terms of choosing a side, because they all on bullshit. No matter who it is. They all got their little tendencies of racism in them. So I just don't even deal with that shit, all right? I look past all that. Because at the end of the day, I know who my true enemy is.
All we have to do is go back to our previous theme that's been recurring throughout the video. Guns in the United States always have and always will be associated with power. It's protected within the Constitution to ensure that citizens maintain this sense of power. Only problem is, this power was only intended for white men. The minute Black people are granted access to that same power, it disrupts the power dynamic.
Look at all them. Whew. I know that city was sick. They were throwing up. You know what they wanted to say. They got guns. I know they was freaking.
Dynamic of the way this country operates.
That's what I like to see.
A country that will always require a significant portion of the population to be marginalized and unable to express their rights to the fullest extent and capability. This is not me being some woke-ass doomer, this is just the way things are. You can't have Black people exercising that same power. Black people fully embracing the Second Amendment and committing to the narrative of armed self-determination would be dangerous for the status quo and the United States.
Exactly.
So you do whatever you can to co-opt that narrative. You begin to associate Black gun owners with danger, irresponsibility, and crime, so that it gives...
That's exactly true. And that reminds me of a clip. Actually, let me just show y'all. I got the perfect clip for this.
And that's when my wife screamed my name and said, "Mark, someone's outside the house."
This is the police with a warrant. Police with a warrant. Stay away from the door.
So then I immediately grabbed my firearm. I'm thinking there's someone about to break in the house.
When Mark Manley began to use his social media influence to organize the Black community, teaching them the importance of firearms ownership, safety, and the Second Amendment, how did the U.S. government react. The ATF raided his home and pointed firearms at his innocent children.
So I look outside of the window and I see tactical units surrounding my home. When I spoke to them, I was spoken back to with nothing but rifles pointed at my bedroom window. You can see the red dots all through my window. You can see them unlock my door, throw something in, and then they run to take cover. They throw a flashbang, they throw on the sirens. They threw one in my living room and threw one in my son's bedroom while he was sleeping. I see dozens of rifles pointed at me. The officers say, turn around. When I turned around, I see red dots on my oldest daughter. It was like 6 red dots on her. Told the officers, hey, y'all are pointing guns at my daughter. They told my son they were pretty much going to kill him. They're great children. They're not, they didn't deserve any of this.
It was like waking up to a bad dream.
Anyone that is a 2A advocate is a target, and I believe because of my large platform and my heavy artillery, it made me even more of a target, and of course my activism.
Yeah, it was mainly because of his activism. This is the reason. You don't want to say it directly, but it's because you're black. And you arming black people with the knowledge and capabilities to defend themselves. This is the reason. Look at this photo. I ain't never heard of no major white gun YouTube channel getting harassed like this. ATF popping up, terrorizing their home. I mean, if there are, please let me know. As far as I know, it just hasn't happened. But this is what we got to look forward to from our government. When we try and arm ourselves, get right with knowledge. And this is it. It's happened all throughout the history of America. This is what the country was built on. This is what the country is. Y'all gonna have to wake up sooner or later.
We would never be the same. We would never forget this moment.
And they still haven't paid for the damage to your house?
No, they completely ransacked my house. My house was torn apart.
Did they sound disappointed they didn't find what they were looking for?
They were very disappointed. They said, guys, we got nothing here. And everybody's face just like dropped in disbelief.
Look at that. House torn to shreds, terrorized, kids traumatized for the rest of their life. And they ain't getting nothing out of it. Nothing. No restitution for any of this damage caused or this trauma caused. They're a federal government agency. They can't sue them. But hey, y'all keep thinking we living in Daisyland or some shit. Y'all gonna have to wake up eventually. I just hope it's sooner than later.
You in the state further justification to punish black people for exercising their Second Amendment. In short, the thought of legal black gun owners becomes a concept so foreign to these institutions and gun owners themselves. In short, the thought of legal black gun owners becomes a concept so foreign to white America that black gun owners are left with a rigged system trying to limit their rights and no one to turn to in support. But how do we solve this? Yes, this issue is deeply systemic, and there's no clear-cut solution to this. But there are steps we can take in order to at least soften some of the blows. As you can probably tell by now, yeah, it's kind of fucked out there for black gun owners. Forget trying to establish any sort of political power when your government gets scared when you try to exercise your basic rights. There's no magic bulletproof vest that can just stop racism. So maybe there lies an answer within all of this. Here's a bit of a $1 million idea. What if instead of trying to ask these inherently racist and discriminatory institutions for fair treatment, we instead said, fuck you, arm yourself. Now wait, before you all start throwing tomatoes at me, let's break this down. It's time for black people to collectively leave the NRA alone. Not just because integrating into them is impossible, but it's because we don't need them for solidarity.
Yeah, you should never be in there in the first place. I don't even know if y'all black and in there, it's no reason for you to be. But these are probably the same black conservatives like, I don't know, Candace Owens or fucking Officer Tatum or some shit like that. You know that. The COONs. You know what they are.
Kind of got our own thing going.
Its name? The National African American Gun Association, or NAGA. Some call it the NRA for Black people.
You mean we got an association out there called the NAGA? It's too easy. I ain't gonna do it. The puns, it's too easy.
Doing and loved how positive they were, how much they were really devoted to teaching people how to be positive gun owners and changing the stigma in our communities of gun ownership.
Are you also a member of the NRA?
No.
Why not?
Yeah, no.
The stigma associated with them is that
Fuck
they're
'em.
it's a
Lord, I never thought I'd see this day. Now y'all got a chapter.
Oh!
That's what I'm talking about.
The Not Fucking Around Coalition. God damn. These some, they mean business. Look like a bunch of mercenaries. Y'all stay safe.
Grandmaster Jay is the commander of the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition. Yep, it's the largest armed black militia in the country. Today, he's meeting new members to see if their shooting meets his standards.
Don't come out here and try to qualify with a weapon that you're not comfortable with.
That's right, niggas do indeed have guns. NAGAs with guns, if you really want to continue with the puns and dad jokes. Organizations such as NAGA and NFA are taking the charge and leading this fight against the racism of orgs such as the NRA. They're well aware that we have no place in these institutions and organizations, that no matter what they love to champion in their motto and slogans, that they will always view us as threats and uphold the racism of this nation. The only way to gain any sort of power would be to stand in solidarity with each other by forming our own legal coalitions and militia to combat narratives pushed by these organizations. And trust me, they know it's effective. These groups are not nearly as large as the NRA, which has more than 5 million members, but with over 34,000 members and 75 chapters nationwide, NAGA isn't trying to compete with the NRA. Instead, they're attempting to include everyone that they've historically left out. They seek to eventually form their own political action committees, cementing their own political power. But we also have to tackle this through education. After the George Floyd protests, there was a surge in the amount of black Americans that wanted to become legal gun owners. However, unsurprisingly, the US is still attempting to apply pressure to these owners. As a result, the best way to help tackle this is to pivot towards educating the public. One of the best ways to do so is to utilize the same advocacy techniques that organizations such as the NRA use, by having programs that educate as well as create community. This includes partnering with local black-owned gun shops and
you know the government hates education. Anything about that system they trying to strip down to their bare bones. Shit. If they could, they want you to go right from elementary school into the workforce. You get to work. But they got to put you in debt. All right, that's why they send you through high school, preparing you for college, so you get in debt. Start the rat race.
Offering free training for all members of the community. Promoting this gun literacy helps protect the rights of those gun owners who are having their rights infringed upon, as well as pushing back against those who do so. I mean, if only back then we knew that education was such an effective way to promote awareness. Oh, wait, we did. And we got killed for it. If there's anything we've learned today is that being black is pretty dangerous, with or without weapons. Far too often, if you don't look like a certain phenotype, you're met with fatal consequences trying to exercise your constitutional rights. It proves that despite black Americans being protected under the law, we were never intended to have access to these laws to begin with. And in this is demonstrated by how both those laws are enforced and infringed upon. Like I mentioned earlier, this truly is like playing that one rigged game of Monopoly. However, the only way to win this time is to snatch the dice from out of their hands. Or go play with people that look like you.
Hey, man. Good ass video. I damn near agree with everything he said. This is pretty decent. Oof. But yeah. My thoughts on it. Going out there and be an advocate for your rights. Okay. Ain't nobody gonna hold your hand in this kind of thing. You gotta do it yourself. So go out there and practice your Second Amendment. All right, get you that big iron right on the hip and stay safe. Yeah, let me know if y'all enjoyed that video. Go ahead and leave a comment down below and I'll see you in the next one.